They didn't cry when you left. They barely flinched when you walked away. But 6 months later, something inside them broke in a way they never saw coming. If you've ever loved someone with avoidant attachment, you know that gut-wrenching feeling of pouring everything into someone who seemed completely fine watching you go. But here's what nobody tells you. Their grief doesn't work like yours. It shows up later, quieter, and in ways that would shock you. Today, I'm breaking down exactly what goes through an avoidant's mind when they lose someone who truly loved them, why it shakes them differently than any other breakup, and what this means for your healing. Stay until the end, because I'm revealing the one thing that separates someone who loved an avoidant from someone they actually lose sleep over. Avoidants have done the breakup thing before. They've had people cry, beg them to stay, and honestly, most of the time, it just confirms what they already believed. That people are too needy, that relationships are suffocating. But when an avoidant loses someone who truly loved them, something different happens. Your love didn't look like what they're used to. You weren't trying to change them. You weren't constantly demanding more. You saw their walls and didn't try to break them down with force. You just loved them as they were, gave them space, and showed up consistently without making them feel trapped. Research on attachment shows that avoidants spent their lives experiencing love as conditional. As kids, they learned their needs were annoying, their emotions were too much. So they built this belief that love always comes with strings attached. But you were different. You loved them on the days they pulled away. You didn't punish them for needing alone time. That type of love is so rare for an avoidant that most don't recognize what they have until it's gone. If this is already making sense, hit that like button so I know this information is landing. Now here's why your love specifically gets under their skin in a way that haunts them later. When an avoidant loses someone clingy or constantly pushing for more, their brain files it under, "See, I was right to keep my distance." It validates their worldview. But when they lose someone who loved them without conditions, who respected their boundaries, who was secure enough to not make them feel suffocated, their brain can't make sense of it the same way. Dr. Stan Tatkin, who developed the psychobiological approach to couple therapy, talks about how avoidants can experience what healthy love actually feels like through secure partners. You gave them that. You modeled secure attachment. You showed them love doesn't have to feel like a trap. And here's the painful irony. The very fact that you loved them so well is exactly why they pushed you away. Because deep down, avoidants are terrified of good things. They don't trust them. Their nervous system is wired to expect disappointment. So when something feels too good, too safe, too real, they sabotage it before it can hurt them first. You probably spent so much time wondering what you did wrong. But the truth is, you were too much of the right thing. You were the kind of love that could have actually healed them. And that scared them more than anything. So what actually goes through an avoidant's mind when they lose someone who truly loved them? They start comparing. Every new person they meet, every date they go on, every relationship they try after you gets measured against what you gave them. And slowly, painfully, they realize that what you offered wasn't normal. It was rare. They notice that other people do push too hard. Other people do need constant reassurance. Other people do try to change them. And suddenly they're thinking, wait, they really weren't like this. They actually gave me space. They actually trusted me. They actually loved me without trying to control me. Research shows that avoidants experience delayed reflection on past relationships. They don't value what they have in the moment, but months or years later, they look back and realize what they had was exactly what they needed, and they destroyed it. They remember the little things. How you didn't freak out when they needed a weekend alone. How you never made them feel guilty for being independent. How you could sit in comfortable silence. All the things that felt threatening at the time now feel like proof that they messed up something irreplaceable. And here's what really gets them. You walking away wasn't dramatic. You didn't explode. You didn't beg. You just quietly recognized you deserved someone who could meet you where you were. And you left with your dignity intact. That level of self-respect, that quiet strength, stays in an avoidant's mind long after the relationship ends. Now, does this mean they'll come back? Does this mean they'll change? Here's where I need you to really hear me. Even when an avoidant realizes what they lost, even when they feel genuine regret, they're still fighting a war inside themselves. Part of them knows you were the best thing that ever happened to them. But another part, the wounded part that's been running since childhood, is still terrified of what it means to be vulnerable. Dr. Diane Poole Heller, who specializes in attachment repair, explains that avoidants can have full awareness of their patterns and still not be able to change them without serious therapeutic work. Knowing they have a problem and actually doing the deep nervous system healing are completely different things. So yes, they might think about you at 3 a.m. Yes, they might feel a loss they didn't expect. Yes, they might even reach out months later saying they made a mistake. But unless they've actively been in therapy, unless they've done real work on their attachment wounds, unless they can articulate specifically how they've changed, they're just going to repeat the same pattern. Your love was powerful enough to make them question everything. But it's not powerful enough to heal them. Only they can do that work. And most avoidants, even when they realize what they lost, choose the familiar pain of loneliness over the terrifying unknown of real intimacy. The fact that an avoidant might eventually realize what they lost doesn't change what you need to do right now. You can't sit around waiting for someone to have an epiphany about your value. You can't pause your life hoping they'll be healed enough to come back. The reason you were able to love an avoidant so well is because you have something they don't. You have the capacity for healthy love. You have emotional availability. You have the courage to be vulnerable. The person who truly loved an avoidant isn't someone they forget. You're the one they think about years later. You're the one they compare everyone else to. But being unforgettable to someone who can't actually be with you isn't a prize. It's just proof that you gave real love to someone who wasn't capable of receiving it yet. If you loved an avoidant who let you go, you didn't fail. You gave them a gift they weren't ready to open. Maybe one day they'll realize what that meant. But your job now isn't to wait around. Your job is to take all that love, all that patience, all that emotional maturity, and give it to someone who's actually capable of giving it back. What's one thing you wish you had known about avoidant attachment before you got into that relationship? Drop it in the comments, because someone reading this needs to hear exactly what you learned the hard way. If you found value in this video, don't forget to like and subscribe.